Swan.
And we're having a conversation about the Cheat Code podcast. So I listened to the first couple episodes.
I did too.
And one of the things that really stuck out for me was that it's interesting that they are like they're kind of treading dangerous territory, right?
Right, they are.
And they're in these marriages, but they talk about not wanting to break up from the marriage, but still entertaining each other.
Yeah, I mean, but that was the point of the cheat code, was to sexting, right?
But I'm like, how can you say that you don't want to break up from your spouse, but then still being engaging in these activities that seem, for me, in direct opposition to that?
Because they wasn't happy with their current situation, but they didn't want to step out. It was just being happy. They were being selfish. They wanted to be selfish for the moment. And most couples.
So it's almost like they wanted to like still keep their spouse and that
right. They wanted
life,
to have their cake and frosting and eat it too. I ain't mad at you. Have fun.
No, see, for me, I feel like, and they talked about being in the beginning stages of like Facebook, and I do remember being in college around that time when Facebook first started. But it is like dangerous territory. I mean, like we've had our own like things with that in a relationship where you have to be very careful about the things you say to people on social media.
Right. Because if you got a stalker for a wife, you can't say certain things. You can't leave certain emojis. Or a husband. I'm sorry, I didn't want to make it seem like it was.
It can go either way. Thank you.
I mean, I don't know dudes that be stalking their pages, but either way, you got to be careful what you say and not leave certain comments.
Right, because I feel like those things can be interpreted in the wrong way. Or, right, similar to this podcast, when you start with the messaging, right, you're opening a door, right? And I feel like that's exactly what happened here. Like, they started with this little, like, really small flirtation, and then it opened the door into what eventually became the exodus of her marriage. Right. And his and then into their own relationship.
Right.
So I think that, it really does you have to really think about like how, like your social media presence.
Right. It depends. Like if you wanted to step out, I feel like you shouldn't do social media anymore because they was prime examples of how marriages and everything go astray.
So you're saying step out, but don't use social media for it?
Yeah, don't never do that.
Wow. Okay.
I mean that's just facts. I mean, I don't see why would you do that. It's crazy.
I just thought that it was interesting. I mean, I'm glad everything worked out for them, but I just, like, as a married couple in my mind, I was thinking, like, man, how would I respond?
Well, so how they come together, do you think they're like that now in their own?
Right. So that's like, honestly what I was thinking. Like,
do they bring that energy to their current relationship together? Like, I don't know that.
And then what I did think is like, okay, if you got together through this kind of avenue, right? Mm-hmm. Do you then build rules around social media when you're together? Because now I know that you and I, or Andrea and Jason, right, in the podcast, they got together through this Facebook thing, right?
Now we having one social media page.
Right. So then it's like, now I feel like, well, now do we have to now have some rules around this? Like, is there more transparency in terms of our Facebook and our DMs? Like, how does that? Because now I feel like I might think, are you then entertaining other people in the same way that you entertain me?
Right. I mean, that's a hard question, and that's always going to be back in somebody's mind when dealing with that and having that experience. So I don't know. Maybe we'll find out when we continue listening to the podcast. Maybe they get to that. I don't know. But we only got to the fourth, fifth episode.
Right. I mean, I definitely want to keep listening. I think it definitely flows really well.
It did.
I like the little musical like things that they're intertwining in there.
I mean, they from Queens. Shout out to Queens. You know what I'm saying? I understand from Rego Park and from Fresh Meadows. Keep it funny. You know what I'm saying? So black people that come from South Side move to the white neighborhoods. You know, I hate you. I hate you. I relate to this story.
Yeah, but I liked it. I mean, I felt like I could really follow along with the story. It was super interesting.
Right.
But it made me just think about like, well, how do they move forward in that?
Right.
You know, like how do you move forward in your marriage knowing that? And then it's like and then I thought about what is their thought process, right? Because for me personally, like if I'm unhappy in something, I'm not looking to step out. Like,
right, you're looking to correct it.
Either we're gonna work on this and work through this, or we're just separating.
Okay, I can feel that. I mean, but how do you get to that point where you just separated? Like, we just fed up where you just can't do it anymore?
I feel like that's
because if you're given two options at one time, then you don't really feel that you want to give up. You just saying that just to say it.
I guess in my mind, I just feel like that's
what females do too.
No, I just feel like okay, we've tried X, Y, and Z, and we're still having these problems. Like nothing has come of it, right? And I feel like if we feel like we've really tried, then at that point, like now, what is our next move? Our next move might be to kind of like dissolve the marriage. But they were really adamant in the beginning about not wanting to dissolve their marriage, but not being happy.
Right. But see, I don't know where you're at on the show.
Okay.
But like, if you get to like episode 4 and 5, they get a little. They get to they explain the parts of why they got to that situation
in their marriage in their previous marriages.
Right.
Okay, I'm definitely gonna keep listening.
Definitely. You should too. Blog in, leave a comment, like it, all that.